Today I'm going to talk to you about participatory culture, which is a concept that I've been exploring and developing over the last 20-something years.
One of the things that's changing our world, disrupting our institutions, including the one that I study, journalism, including the one that you're a part of and I'm a part of, education. It's disrupting commerce, it's disrupting politics, is the falling costs for like-minded people to locate each other, share information, pool what they know, collaborate, and publish the results back to the world.
Participatory culture is a rich site of informal learning. Because there are low barriers for engagement, strong support for sharing creations with others, informal mentorship, members believe their contributions matter, they care about each other's opinions of self and worth.
What matters is this. This is a graph of photographs tagged Iraq as taken by the 529 photographers who contributed the 5,445 photos. And it's ranked in order of number of photos taken per photographer. And our most prolific photographer has taken around 350 photos. And you can see there's a few people who've taken hundreds of photos. Then there's dozens of people who've taken dozens of photos. And by the time we get around here, we get 10 or fewer photos, and then this long, flat tail.
In 2004, this crazed media company called Sinclair Broadcasting decided that they were going to air an anti-Kerry documentary 3 weeks before the election. Does anyone remember this? And almost overnight was able to organize itself to create an online dossier explaining who Sinclair was and who ran this company and what their values were. And it happened like in a matter of days. And this resource was better at explaining Sinclair and where Sinclair was coming from than anything that was in the press at the time. And they didn't have instructions. They hadn't read the Halloween documents or this article in Salon. They just knew how to do it. And part of the reason that they could do it was they were an already organized online community. And they didn't have to pay the costs of organizing themselves because they were already people who believed in the values of daily costs and knew they were Democrats. And furthermore, they were motivated not only by their outrage at Sinclair Broadcasting, but by the fact that they knew the election was 3 weeks away and that this could have an effect. And in organizing these open source projects, one of the first things you have to figure out is what would motivate people to participate. So in this early example, the election and the nearness of the balloting motivated them because they felt they could lose and Sinclair could unfairly win.
One week ago today, Ning, the popular custom social networking site that a lot of educators using social networks to connect with each other as well as to building custom networks for their kids use, was recently leaked a memo from their CEO, their new CEO, Jason Rosenthal, that they were going to be closing their door to all free subscribers, which causes a problem for a lot of users who are not using the service with huge populations of people. So it's almost as soon as this, very, very shortly after this announcement came out, Alec Couros, who's a instructor at, or a professor at the University of Regina, posted this message on Twitter. Okay, with all this talk about alternatives, let's help each other. Please collaborate on this doc. So he created an open Google Doc called Alternatives to Ning, in which within the matter of just a couple hours, we're over 100, or where hundreds of different edits were made. Over 150 were made in the first, I think he said hour or hour and a half, something like that. And suddenly, from this community of people that were following him on Twitter and who have been interconnected through their connections or relationships with each other, came together to find a quick alternative, or quick alternatives for people who are about to lose their platform. And so with this, all of a sudden we have a whole bunch of solutions to a really difficult problem.
If you take the top 10% of photographers contributing to this system, they account for 3/4 of the photos taken, just the top 10% most prolific photographers. If you go down to 5%, you're still accounting for 60% of the photos. If you go down to 1%, exclude 99% of the group effort, you're still accounting for almost 1/4 of the photos. And because of this left weighting, the average is actually here, way to the left. And that sounds strange to our ears, but what ends up happening is that 80% of the contributors have contributed a below average amount.
This kind of crowdsourcing or participatory problem solving is made possible today through the use of these social tools like YouTube, Twitter, blogs, Facebook, Delicious. These are all tools that educators and other people in other fields as well have gravitated towards to connect our world and connect to each other.
So I'll end with a few examples of what might be done, even in a room like this. So first off, part of the solution might be in this message itself, because the message I just gave you was actually crafted by those 200 students you just saw. We opened up a Google document. We all put in our own input. We had about 400 edits from these 200 students, and that created the script for a video that many of you have seen. Almost 4 million people saw it, and the reason why all those people saw it is because all of us worked together to get that video out. Here's another example here. This is a class where you normally have a syllabus. Instead, we have a research schedule. Any student at any time can edit the research schedule. We have a simple goal. We're going to produce a documentary for the world that the world cares about, something relevant to the students and to the world. Each student produces their own little segment of the documentary. We put it all together, and instead of a bunch of blue books in an essay form that you throw in the trash at the end of the semester, we have a documentary at the end that over 1 million people see. So what we do is we lay a map on top of the students. Each of the students goes to a different spot on this map and becomes an expert in that part of the world. We build up a wiki, and we end up with hundreds of pages of information and knowledge built by the students themselves about these different places in the world. And before long, they know more about the world collectively than I do, which becomes a very interesting situation for the classroom itself.